Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Cameron, in late December of 2016, the Department of Interior announced two major decisions within a few days of each other. The first one rolled back the Obama administration's 2016 decision not to renew the leases for copper and nickel mining on the border of the Boundary Water Wilderness in northern Minnesota. That was the first one. The second rescinded the interpretation of the Migratory Bird Act, as was mentioned by Mr. Van Drew, and that companies, and it said that companies that accidentally, in the previous interpretation was that companies that accidentally kill birds are liable for those deaths. By rolling both of those back, these were big victories for the oil and gas and mining interests. Let's talk about first the Migratory Bird Treaty Act. The ruling on that specifically benefits the industry that David Bernhardt had formally lobbied for. Documents that have been obtained from the Freedom of Information Act reveal that David Bernhardt had been personally involved in the rewrite of the Migratory Bird Treaty Act regulations. So the question to us on this committee and to me is, given Bernhardt's ties to the industry that would benefit from the rollback, shouldn't he have recused himself from these deliberations?
Congressman, I can tell you that the Deputy Secretary, Acting Secretary, has recused himself from a number of topics. I can tell you he takes those recusals and ethics in general very seriously. I can tell you.
I'm not asking about ethics. You're saying you can't answer that question, is what you're saying, whether he should not have recused himself.
I'm saying I'm not in a position to answer that question because I have not privy to discussions he's had with our ethics office.
Thank you. Let's talk about something that you can when you were there. You were on the transition team for the Interior Department in December of 2016, as well as the beachhead team at the Department of Interior. So basically, you've been there from day one of this administration. Is that not true?
That is correct, sir.
Was the issue of the Twin Metals mining leases in the Superior National Forest next to the boundary waters in Minnesota ever raised in discussions or documents by the transition team?
I certainly can't recall it coming up, no.
All right. Clearly, this was an issue of high importance for the incoming administration. There was an email from Mike Ned at the Bureau of Land Management in February 7th, that's February 7th of 2017, barely 2 weeks after the inauguration, that was titled Superior Withdrawal. And in that email, he writes, "Here is the briefing paper used to brief the DOI leadership." Were you one of the DOI leadership briefed on the Superior National Forest mineral withdrawal?
No, sir. At that point, I was over in the Water and Science corridor, so I had no role in that at all.
And do you know who was briefed?
No idea.
No idea. Do you know who told the Bureau of Land Management to prepare a briefing paper on the withdrawal?
No, sir.
2 days later, lawyers from the solicitor's office were already passing around an options paper on the withdrawal that had already been started by BLM. Did you receive a copy of that options paper?
I don't believe I did.
If not, who do you think, or do you know who did receive a copy of the options paper?
No, sir, I've got no idea.
Let me go back to this. 2 weeks ago, Chairman Grijalva and I sent a letter to BLM asking for 3 specific documents included in some of these emails. We even provided the exact file names, but we haven't received them. These are 3 documents that we know exist, we know who sent them, and we know who received them. It shouldn't take over 2 weeks to provide them to Congress. Is there a deliberate policy not to provide Congress with this material?
No, sir, quite the opposite. We've provided around 10,000 documents representing 50,000 pages of material to this committee and other committees, and we've got a process for...
Well, we're asking for these three, that we know everything about these documents, but yet we've requested it, we haven't received anything back from the Interior, and you're one of the top officials at Interior, so will you go back and talk to the Congressional Affairs people to start getting us what we asked for? Or do we need to consider having the head of the Congressional Affairs Office come up here to testify?
Sir, I'd be happy to go back and inquire as to the status of that request.
Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you.